There are evil mega corporations, and then there's BlackRock. BlackRock is in a league of its own. This is a company that has 12 trillion in assets under its control, and that monetary value exceeds the GDP of every country in the world except for the US and China. And when you are that big a company, that requires a certain amount of scrutiny. But what's interesting about BlackRock is that it has escaped any sort of serious scrutiny when it's quite literally a merchant of death. Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock, and he's been building that company since 1988. And at this point, BlackRock pretty much owns everything. And when you think about evil billionaires, Larry Fink is probably high on the list and should be in the top five. Larry Fink tries to paint the company as if it is aligned with the betterment of the world. But the reality of it is that BlackRock as a company is invested in some really dubious things. This is somebody who casts a $12 trillion shadow. That's the volume of assets that BlackRock has under its management. And what makes this company especially dangerous and what makes Larry Fink especially dangerous is that as one of these giant billionaires who oversees the largest company in the world, he flies under the radar. And when you think about what BlackRock is invested in, they like to brand themselves as a company that is looking out for the greater good of the world. But what are they really involved in? When you look at where their investment portfolio sits, it sits in a who's who of merchants of death. When you look at their investments across sectors, BlackRock is heavily invested in the energy sector, and they're one of the leading drivers of climate change and driving poor climate policy across the world so that they can pad their bottom lines. There's a reason why all of these billionaires want to get as many resources as possible in the hopes of going off planet, because they want to leave this place a desiccated and polluted husk while they observe from places that are out of reach. Fink is no different than every other billionaire that is trying to make a mad dash off the planet. His investment portfolio just in the energy sector is fueling a catastrophe of its own. If you want to ramp up the evil billionaire language, what else is he invested in? BlackRock and Larry Fink invest heavily in the police state. When you think about every surveillance tool, every police force, every sort of bad policing behavior or practice that's invasive and an attack on privacy of the individual, BlackRock is involved and Larry Fink is pulling the strings. Just with those two things, you have Larry Fink, who could easily be a character in the next superhero movie, and he would be the star villain. He would be the main villain, the big boss. But we're not done with what he's involved in. When you think about Larry Fink and BlackRock, they invest heavily in weapons manufacturers. They are quite literally the merchants of death when it comes to that. When you think about the military industrial complex, BlackRock profits handsomely off the deaths of countless brown and black faces all around the world. And when you bring it home domestically, really, when you look at weapons manufacturers, arms and gun manufacturers, BlackRock is deeply involved in that, and Larry Fink profits handsomely off of that as well. And if that wasn't bad enough, 12 trillion in assets managed means that they are involved in just about everything that you can think of. And it's no surprise that when you look at every publicly traded company that is in the Fortune 500, three companies listed over and over again: State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock. So what that means is that when you're shaping the direction of any company and the policies that they take, just about every mega corporation has a BlackRock fingerprint in it. When you think about all of the damage that is caused by big business, BlackRock accounts for 1/3 of all of that carnage that exists, whether you're talking about military carnage, environmental carnage, domestic carnage. BlackRock and Larry Fink are among the most evil of evil companies that are out there, and they deserve a lot more scrutiny than they're getting. And that is why when you think about the world's most evil billionaires, and all of them are evil, Larry Fink is easily in the top five if he isn't already number one on the list.